Welcome to Geeks Corner. I'm Mr. Daps.
And I'm not Johnny Five. In fact,
No,
I'm
you're
Cameron.
no, you're not. Welcome to our retaping, I guess, of Geeks Corner. We had a live taping last night and it disappeared. So for those of you that didn't watch the live taping, which was under a couple dozen, you get to watch the backup version, round
Congratulations.
two, the Mr. Daps Cameron version.
Director's cut?
Are
Director's
we
cut.
sure?
Yes,
We're director's cut.
I accept.
What's cool about this though is since last night, there's been more news that came out that we decided since we can, we're going to, and we're just going to lead off with this because why would we wait?
You get the benefit of time.
Yes, it worked in your favor. They just announced that there's going to be a Frozen musical coming to the Hyperion Theatre in Disney California Adventure, which means we will be saying goodbye to Disney's Aladdin, the musical spectacular, which has been there for nearly 14,000 shows around there somewhere. And so January 10th, 2016 will be the last day for Aladdin, and then sometime in the summer will be the first day for Frozen. So it'll be another Frozen summer coming to Disney California Adventure, which really has a lot of implications when you start thinking about this. First off, Aladdin has been around forever. Like it was it 2003? Is that when it came in?
That sounds right.
That sounds right to me too. We'll probably get a person telling us we're wrong if we are.
Tell us we're wrong.
But
It's a good opportunity to mention hashtag Geeks Corner if you'd
yeah,
like to mention that we're wrong.
absolutely. Tell us if you're watching live. We did not do any. Yeah, January 20 or 2003. I was right.
Oh, good.
So,
Hashtag tell us we're fantastic.
yeah, we like that too. Um, but that's a lot of shows, and a lot of people love this show, and it has some elements that make it very rewatchable. And the main one, obviously, being the genie, always has something unique to say that's relevant to whatever's going on in the world at any given time. Um, Frozen has huge shoes or a huge lamp to fill.
I like huge lamp to fill.
Yeah, I think so
Much
too.
lamp.
Yeah, much lamp. Many much lamp. That's what happens when it's as hot as the night before.
But the really good point that was brought up from that is, can it be something that people will come back and see multiple
over and
times?
over and over again.
Because there was the draw with Genie, of course, that you come back and see what the new fancy thing is that he's saying.
And who would be that catalyst?
Right. Who would you have that would be able to do that in Frozen?
My hunch is Olaf.
Right, and that would be my guess too. But
that's a new costume that we've never seen because we've only seen the weird one in the Frozen storytelling.
They could go
thing.
puppets a la Avenue Q.
That would be cool.
That would be really cool.
I actually really like. I didn't even consider that. And then he'd be the right size. We could have a life size.
Right, and then I mean, they've done things like that on Broadway since this is open to show that that kind of thing would work. And then I guess you could, but still having puppeteering and improving like that, I assume it would be a one-person puppet.
Well, and that makes sense because Iago's a puppet in Aladdin, so there's already a precedent set in the parks too, not just on Broadway for a way to do that. It'll be interesting to see how much similar yet different this will be than the Broadway version that's being worked on for whatever. It'll also be interesting to see the community reaction. I mean, obviously right now there's probably a lot of, what? You can't get rid of Aladdin for Frozen? But then on the flip side, I was just watching the fireworks on Sunday night, and it got to the Let It Go part, and like half of the area in front of Small World was singing Let It Go.
Right.
And so there is definitely still an appetite for Frozen and
well, the comparison I would make was the transfer from Tron to Mad T. Whatever your opinions may be on that, obviously Mad T has been very successful, but there was a lot of animosity when Tron was gone. So it has the potential to be fantastic.
Well, and the scary part is Disney, like they don't make these decisions lightly, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so you start thinking like how, what information do they have that we don't have? And then like how deep does it go and all that stuff. And I'm really curious to see, how much of a show we get. Is it going to be 42 minutes long? Is it going to be 47? Probably under 45 minutes,
I would assume.
is my hunch. But it'll really be a curiouser thing to see what they do with this show. What do you think they need to do for it to be a success?
Again, I think that they need to really hit on the reviewability because that was one of the big straws for the Aladdin show. It's a relatively small backstage, and one of the things they've really been promoting is that it's going to have these fantastical set changes.
True.
So they may be doing quite a bit of construction on the theater itself to make that work.
Which could mean they're going to get a facelift on the outside
Right.
too, which has been something people have hoped for a very long time.
So bringing in those new elements, new theatrical tech stuff, might be enough of a draw to make that worthwhile. And then just, of course, making something storyline wise that would be interesting enough to watch after seeing every other iteration of Frozen.
Try it. Yeah, that's exactly right. The one thing I think it has in its favor is I think the Hyperion is one of the best air conditioned places in the resort.
Yep.
So they could
actually make it cold.
They can make it cold in there, and that'll work. And I do wonder, just do you think they're going to have the snow effects going through the whole thing every day?
Possibly, or somehow incorporate the not ice onto the stage and have people skating.
That'd be kind of cool.
They have a lot of room to do interesting things. That's whether or not they're going to choose to do the liability of them a la Spider-Man doing these.
Well, and then the other thing you want to think is this been around for what 12 or 2003 to 2015? So that's 12 years, right? Okay, I was right. That's a huge investment when you think about it.
Right.
And if they're looking to get over a decade's legs, I guess you could say, on this show, they're probably going to do some pretty incredible things just to make it worthwhile, so people will want to see it 10, 12 years from now.
Right.
And that will be an interesting thing to see how that plays out and whatever. Like I don't really know what to expect to be excited or not excited by it because it's Frozen. It's like, okay, it's going to be Frozen. And the part that I kind of am looking forward to hearing and seeing how they do that is what makes it unique each time. You know, the Olaf character or the...
Where's Disney putting the money where its mouth is when it comes to the show?
I mean, it would be nice to hear, Anna and Elsa actually sing their songs.
Like, I think at the very least that's something we can count on.
There's some charming songs in it, like The Love is an Open Door, I think could be really charming, and whatever. I like Anna's songs in general, actually. Like, she's a very charming,
and we know
character.
They have success in I don't want to say cutting down, but synthesizing the showdown with the show they're doing over at the Royal Hall of Frozen, which actually is very, very entertaining.
That's my favorite rendition of Frozen. It's hilarious.
It's fantastic.
Like,
and there's even Les Mis references in it if you catch it.
And it doesn't take itself too seriously. It moves quickly. And I feel like that's what they have to do with this.
Right. And that actually ties into one of the next points we were talking about, which is how is this going to affect the other Frozen venues within the park?
I have hopes.
Of course, the biggest hope being, I think, that we talked about
the return of the Muppets.
Return of Muppets, yes.
Don't put Star Wars in there, just Muppets.
Yeah, I think it has potential. I mean, Star Wars is going to be on the other side.
Well, especially if this TV show in, 2-3 weeks really takes off. Like, if it turns out to be a huge success, there's definitely a reason then to bring the Muppets back. And you could do that whenever, I guess. It's probably still there. And if they wanted, they could upgrade the show or maybe even tie it into the new TV show somehow, hopefully in a quality way, not in a quick, 2D version.
And this is the thing we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like there's a ton of potential with the Muppets. And one of the articles I was reading was saying how the last 20 years or so, there's never really been a definition of who the Muppets are. Like, they've kind of lost their way, which is very true. And the hope, I think it was the New York Times article behind this one, though, was that this would bring the Muppets back to who they originally were, which was adult humor that kids enjoyed.
Right.
And, they're edgy comedy when you look at the Muppet Show even today, it's kind of edgy. And it would be really cool if they can pull that off and really get back to that core of, this is what the Muppets we know and love is, and then build off that for...
Right. And especially to have something like that in the park. It would give certainly an excellent option for some people to go see.
And potentially even add some improv element also, where you have the screen characters that, they're going to have their main parts, but, maybe you have a couple of puppeteers that are in Bean Bunny's place.
This is us dreaming.
This is, I was going to say, this is if I were in charge, this is what our production meeting would look like. But, that's, you could totally put in a couple of puppeteers up in the balcony where Bean Bunny is. You couldn't touch Waldorf and stuff.
No.
They have to stay forever. And they will, because they're bolted to the floors. But
sure beats being dead.
You could even add, I guess Sweetums would be kind of hard to, you'd have to create secondary characters that aren't as whatever. But you could definitely do something with it. I don't know.
So 50% of our Frozen talk has been about the Muppets so far, just so you know.
But the moral of the story is pretty much any topic you can turn around and bring back into the Muppets one way or another.
Yes.
I mean, it's that way with that and Star Wars and Star Trek. Those are like the three huge franchise that can pull that off, even though the Muppets aren't that huge.
Oh, they're pretty big.
They're big, but they're not Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel huge yet.
Fair.
Even though they really should have another Pigs in Space.
Pigs in
Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be awesome? I think it would be fantastic.
I agree.
We should work on that. You write? Why not? You could write a Pigs in Space.
I could write a Pigs in Space.
It'd be amazing. I've always wondered if Star Trek eventually gets bought by Disney.
And I think we've kind of touched on that before.
I really am starting to think they're the only ones that can save it. But we'll see. Maybe this next movie will be good. Star Wars had a huge weekend. They started with their Force Fridays, which sold a ton of droids.
Sold out a ton of droids. In fact, I'm still looking for my BB-8. I can't find it.
Did you look in? Are they out now in downtown Disney? And,
yep.
Oh, man,
I know.
I wish you'd have told me. on Saturday, I saw some in Tomorrowland and also in.
They'll be back.
Yeah,
they'll be back.
Yes, they always come back. But so they're the little app droid, I guess you could say. And it's interesting. The company Sphero that made these, they're making toys now because they have visions for like real things, like moving airplanes on aircraft carriers and stuff with their app. But they're like, well, we can't mess those up. But if we make a toy, the expectations won't be as high. And then they just happened to make this Sphere toy that turned out to be something very similar to being used in the next Star Wars movie. And it's just one of those like random confluence of events. It's like, oh, this worked. And so Sphero.
Beautiful example of science fiction pushing towards science and vice versa.
Very awesome. Yeah. And it can, well, you share about the droid.
Well, it's very interesting, tiny little thing. My only critique, of course, being that it's too tiny. But
because it would probably fit in this mug.
It would. But it's really neat. It's got its own autonomous mode that it can roll around by itself, where it can be controlled through various app platforms. It's very responsive from the look of it.
And you can control it different ways, too.
Yes, and you can also do voice commands.
Yeah, which I think is awesome.
Yes.
Because can you imagine just like, go over here? I don't know what you tell it.
But it has the same allure as the Kinect when it originally came out for Xbox. Voice commands, being able to yell at your electronics and make them work. But a bit more refined now.
And it's way cooler looking.
Yes.
I'm curious to see what the character ends up being in the movie.
I still hope he's the villain. I really do.
Or something, like, does he even survive the whole movie? Like.
Well, most of the products that I have now seen in the park do have the Rebel Alliance logo on them. So it's pretty clearly slated.
To be on that.
Yeah, to be on that spectrum of things.
That seemed fairly obvious.
Yes. But I mean, officially now with products, we know that's where he's going.
It was amazing. Like some of the products actually had lines from the movie in it that was giving away minor spoilers. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure I want to hear that.
Right.
And like the Kylo Ren has a few lines. And it was like, oh, okay, maybe that's important. And yeah.
And that's one interesting point to bring up about these products. They're marketing heavily for these specific characters that we know almost nothing about. And
and they're selling out.
Yeah, they are, and they're already getting attachment to these people that
which could have good consequences and bad
ones. Yes.
Like, what if we end up falling in love with the worst thing ever, and it's one of those J.J. Abrams switches, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, I'm actually kind of nervous about this movie. Not from a will it be good or bad, but from a how many sucker punches we're gonna get in this movie.
The Abrams effect. You're worried about shooting Coulson halfway through is what you're worried about. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have predictions that I won't say on here, but
as do I. Yes.
And I think we had similar ones, if I recall.
Yes.
But that scares me a little bit, and we're just getting started. This is only number 1 of 3 announced for the official anthology or whatever they're going to call them. And
well, the one thing I will say, without saying anything specifically,
say this without saying anything.
Say it without saying. What characters have you not seen advertised yet in products that you would assume would be at this point? And what does that say for their culmination in the film? as I drink my water.
And or future films. Just saying.
That.
Just saying. And that could mean multiple things.
It can. Yeah.
I mean, it could be even some person in marketing is like, well,
really smart person in
yeah,
marketing.
exactly. And this is how it's going to be received. And people like these kind of people better than those kind of peoples. And clearly, this is a droid that's awesome. So everybody's going to want that. Like, I don't know. That concerns me a lot, though.
And as a sub caveat to that, I actually got to play with a lot of the pins that they released on
Oh,
Force
nice.
Friday. There was a good selection, and they did one of my favorite things with pins, which is pins that look like the real thing rather than just being a picture of the thing.
I like that.
Yeah, so they had like
Yeah.
like rebellion stuff and all kind of stuff. So if you're a pin trader, good things.
You're going to be, well, if you can get them still.
Yeah, well, there was a good selection today.
Oh, there was still?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They also announced that the Force Awakens soundtrack is coming out the day that the movie comes out, so December 18th, which I have mixed feelings on also, because traditionally Star Wars soundtracks have come out like a week or two before, which I've also had mixed feelings on because I love hearing the music early. I don't like reading the track listings early.
Right.
And part of me is a little bit disappointed that I won't be able to listen to the soundtrack if I go and see it the evening before, which is what we always do.
Right.
And I want to listen to the soundtrack as I'm going home. So I'm hoping for a miracle. I don't know. But John Williams is writing it. It's going to be fantastic.
But that's the thing, because it's John Williams, it's going to be so tied to the plot. I mean, it's
he
so
writes
indicative.
music in a way that people don't write anymore.
Right.
And he's really kind of that lone.
And it elicits such an emotional tie to what's happening visually. And that's the genius of John Williams, is that he knows how to respond to what's happening on
And
film.
I really wish he had people that were learning to do what he does, because my big fear is he's not going to make it through the next 2 movies after this. And I mean, I hope he does,
of course,
because if they can do that, I feel like that's a win for all 9 movies. And you've got this masterful work of music. Who cares about the movies, really? Like,
right. And I think we've touched on that before, that whatever your opinion is on the prequels, you can admit that the music was solid.
Yeah, it is. Like, I listen to it regularly, and I'm kind of a music snob. But you know, that's just one of those things that Star Wars without John Williams is going to be an era we're going to be moving into. So
don't talk like that.
I know, but but I'm assuming for the Star Wars stories, you know, like Rogue One, and well, we already know Rogue One, he's not doing music,
not involved.
And so we're entering an era now where his music isn't going to be the only definitive music of Star Wars. And that's going to be a very interesting thing. So I'm going to be grabbing and holding on as tight as I can to however many soundtracks come from him in the coming years, and hopefully at least 3. Like, that'll be a win for me, is if we get 3 more, including this from him. But
you're right, Williams. If need apprentices, we'll drop what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely, we're there. I mean, he's just in Hollywood now, so it's not like it's even a huge commute. What else can we hit? We can talk about. We already talked about that. Let's go to Disneyland.
Okay.
Well, after this.
Oh.
Actually, I think it's closed already. I heard the fireworks early.
Yeah.
So they announced that there's going to be a Jungle Cruise Safari breakfast. They also announced that there's going to be mystical spirits of the Blue Bayou. Woo!
Excellent news effects there.
Yeah, I know.
Brought me into the story.
Well, I'm just practicing for when we get to Halloween, because we always do a big Halloween episode, and that's always fun.
Prepare yourselves.
I always like the idea of doing like a candlelit episode, but it never works as well.
Just everything in beautiful 4 parts singing about this. I like it. It's headcanon accepted. This
I
is
don't
happening
know.
now.
Okay. So they're gonna have this breakfast. It's $300, and then after breakfast, you get to go on the Jungle Cruise a bunch of times, I'm assuming, and learn to be a Jungle Cruise skipper, and then skipper a boat and get a really fancy mask.
Yep.
Then, if that's not your thing, they're going to have a dinner at the Blue Bayou on Halloween nights with Dr. Facilier, and you also get like cool viewing for stuff for Halloween as well. And that's only $150, but you also have to buy the ticket for the Halloween party, so that ends up being like $230 or something.
So in Ultra, it's not a huge price point.
It's less
difference.
than $100 difference.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, which one's better? I kind of think the Jungle Cruise ones.
And I kind of go the other way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can understand the allure of the Jungle Cruise one because it feels like a very exclusive thing.
It's a once in a lifetime thing.
Right. And you actually get to be on the boat and do the thing. My worry with that is having a boat full of people doing hackney jokes the entire time that are just terrible.
I was gonna say the flip side for that is I'm assuming you have to listen to everybody else that you're going with.
Right.
So you maybe get 1 in 12 that's actually worth listening to, if you're lucky.
Right.
And
but I'll agree that the experience itself is pretty good. Now
if we had just the Geeks Corner crew doing it,
goodness.
I think you would have 12 hilarious and completely different Jungle Cruises.
That would be dangerous, is what that would be.
And it'd be different styles for each time,
Yes.
which would be absolutely hilarious when you think about that. But you were going to talk about Dr. Facilier's
No,
dinner.
I like the theming of that.
Totally.
I like utilizing Dr. Facilier because I think there's a lot of really fun things as a character you could do with that. And I like the idea of that character interacting during a meal.
And being in Blue Bayou.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, it's very appropriate. Yes.
Yeah, it's a very fitting place for him to be in a darker environment. In fact, better than anywhere else I can think in the resort.
And if the hope would be that they use some kind of shadow effect on him to actually project it on that back wall.
Wherever they have him.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool.
I think that'd be neat.
That would be very cool.
So just from a feel, from just an aesthetics thing, I think I would enjoy the Facilier event more. But I get where you're coming from with the other one.
Yeah. And I feel like I guess the other side for me with the Blue Bayou thing is like, okay, so it's a fancy character dinner, and we get those everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I guess if the price point were lower, I'd be like, oh yeah, totally.
Right.
But the fact that you end up spending over $200 between the Halloween party and dinner.
Does it remind me? Does the Blue Bayou one come with a viewing as well?
Yeah, I think you get fireworks and parade viewing or something.
Okay. Well, so there's a lot of little.
There's nice things, but they're not things that, if you're a regular in the resort, you necessarily need, because most of us have figured out by now how to watch fireworks easily, how to watch Paint the Night fairly easily.
True, but it is the Halloween stuff, so it would be a nice thing for it. So.
And you're probably getting that spot right in the hub or something. I don't know. And so that would be worth something.
Right.
But if I had to choose between the two, yeah, I think I would go with the Jungle.
Yeah,
if they allowed videos. If they didn't allow videos,
then I would. Good point.
Then I would totally choose actually Blue Bayou.
Because
that
then
would
it just becomes a fish story, and then you're just.
I want proof.
I swear the hippo was this big.
No. They really let you shoot the gun.
That was exactly what I was thinking.
No, they didn't. Yeah. Only one went off.
And of course, it's one of the little orange and green ones that goes.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be so horrible, wouldn't it? One other thing we were talking about that didn't make it in yet tonight is what if there was a Muppets Marvel crossover mashup thing? And it's an interesting idea of somehow their worlds colliding. And last night we were talking about how it could happen, but tonight I'm thinking in a different way of what if their worlds like legitimately collided, where like a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing takes them on to the ABC studios or Muppet studios where they're filming Up Late with Miss Piggy, and you see that kind of in the background but not maybe central to that. And then the events that are happening in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe a peripheral event of that intersects with an episode of the Muppets, so you've kind of got both episodes bouncing into each other.
So both of them happening simultaneously in the background of each other.
Yes.
I like that idea.
To me, like, we had other ideas last night, but to me that makes the most sense. Where
it's one that you could pull off without it getting ridiculous.
Yeah, well, not that
that would
Agents of
work
S.H.I.E.L.D. or Muppets are ever ridiculous, but it'd be an interesting idea where you could kind of almost do like a Halloween episode or something where it's just a series of really weird events and you don't connect with them all, and then it's like, oh.
And they did that a lot with like the TGIF stuff in the 90s, where they would have crossovers between like sitcoms and stuff. And I like that idea because I think that could really work. I still say Sam Eagle needs to be an agent because I would watch that.
Would too. That would be amazing. Him and the Big Bear.
All right.
Yeah, that guy. I actually don't generally like him, but I could see him in that.
Wouldn't it be great just like moving around in the background, messing stuff up for S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh, yeah. Or even if they just did like a parody episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a standalone episode with Muppets. I think that one's
the most likely.
That would be amazing. Or maybe it's the Muppet Show taking over Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something, you know, like, because I think they'd put it on the Muppet side of things probably before Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it would be amazing.
I mean, they've shown that they have comedic chops on S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple of times. even with like
and most of them have done promos now for the new Muppet Show.
Right.
I feel like in one capacity or another, and their Dub Smash.
Right. Yeah, that was the big thing I was going to reference. They know how to have fun.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I think more than like I feel like a lot of shows have fun, but this one, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, there's a camaraderie and a geekiness
Yes.
about them that takes them to an entirely different level.
Right.
My biggest complaint with them is that they come from Marvel TV instead of Marvel Studios, so we probably won't see as many movie overlays,
Right.
which is a major disappointment because
they're good characters.
Well, and I want Coulson back in the movies.
Yes.
Like even if it's for 15 seconds in a closing wrap up.
To do a Coulson-y bit.
Yeah, whatever. Like he finds, I don't know, a rock. Yeah, you just never know. And I am curious. Are you caught up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, I am curious what visually we are going to see when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. returns in a couple of weeks with Coulson. And I'll just leave it at that so I'm not spoiling anything for
Thank you.
That was very tactful, I think, or diplomatic or whatever. Yes, but you know what I mean if you've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it'll be interesting to see what his return is like, and some of the other returns as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on in the world of geekdom from our little corner tonight. Do you like our new setup for when there's two of us and we have to do it all by ourselves because we're awesome like that? Hi, Mom. It's been fun though because it's out of the ordinary, and so we didn't really have to follow anything.
I think it worked pretty well.
I think it did too. We hope you liked it too. We hope you will subscribe to our YouTube channel because that's always good, and tweet at us with the hashtag Geeks Corner. And you can follow us on Twitter too. Just look us up, you'll find us. And I'll put it on the episode. That's what I'll do.
Sounds good.
And that'll be on dapsmagic.com. You can always find us as well. But for now, we will see you around the corner.
Geek out.